After 20 years in game development, I can tell you that the AAA industry, in many respects, has become an unbelievably bloated abomination. More than ever, it seems to me that gamers have a strong love-hate relationship with it. After all, exploring Hogwarts is pretty cool, right? But, on the other hand, pre-sales running up to buggy launches with review embargoes, broken ports, and mountains of microtransactions is enough to piss anyone off. This love-hate relationship is a very interesting paradox. Today, I'm going to break the cardinal rule of business in this video and criticize the customer. The AAA industry is bloated because the AAA consumer base is unsophisticated and have no fucking idea what they want. And until that changes, you can expect more of the same. The beatings will continue until morale improves. While wandering YouTube, I came across this video, highlighting an excellent skiing segment that's only used for 40 seconds. I couldn't help but notice the description. Battlefield 5 here shows how you should treat your game, or any other product. The sentiment being that this kind of detail for such a small segment is laudable. Well, this triggered the shit out of me. I don't really want to pick on this YouTube channel because despite what I just said, joking aside, honestly, as a consumer, it's totally understandable. And without being a dev, there's no way he could know how fucking crazy that sentiment is. Do you have any fucking idea how much money that segment probably costs to make? Let's figure it out. Average compensation for a programmer in San Francisco is 200,000 USD. That's average. But let's assume one programmer at 140 instead, and an animator for sure at say 75, and a world artist at say 70 to make the track. And that's assuming we reuse props that you were going to make anyway. You'll need a good effects artist, probably making about 120. Oh, and a game designer was probably involved to plan out and tweak how the movement worked. Let's assume 70K for that. And then finally, a little audio work and QA, someone to actually build the skis, someone to rig them, and let's assume this takes 1 month, and we're already at $40,000! That's already over the entire budget of my game in the fall. I'm not kidding! Look! Here's our Kickstarter page. 40,000 USD is 54,000 Canadian. AAA games are absorbently expensive to make. But here's the thing. The price to purchase one of these games hasn't really increased in 30 years. And if anything, it's gone down. Why even buy a game at full price anymore when there are 60 million to choose from and eventually it's gonna go on sale anyway? If you're in the AAA industry, the choice is crystal clear. You simply must have other ways of making your money back. End of story. There's no choice here. Unless you're extremely lucky, the price the market is willing to pay just does not justify the development costs. Period. The simple truth of the matter is that wanting features like this, or while we're at it, wanting extremely high fidelity graphics, huge interactable worlds, etc., 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 is the exact same thing as wanting these wacky monetization schemes. By the way, I would also wager that explains some of the other problems as well. Studios are desperate to cut costs. They're running out of money, so they take huge risks like hiring external developers to do console ports or releasing buggy products. But it's so much darker than that. Look, even with wacky monetization schemes, I'm still not sure that these kinds of productions are sustainable. I never really understood it. But with an IP like Battlefield that everyone's already familiar with, I guess maybe it is justified. But all that's leading to is a runaway feedback loop where a small handful of IP are going to continue to progress into a more and more absurd, unnecessary level of fidelity, and fewer products will be able to compete. What that means for customers of AAA products is simple. You are following this leadership into a captured market where large developers are going to treat you however the fuck they want because you've been trained to not enjoy anything else. I think a lot of these guys are like really intricate bondage gimps. Like, there's only one dom in town that has all the buckles and straps and shit you need to get fired up, and you're upset because she started to charge you microtransactions. Like, hey guy, do you really need all that shit? Why did you allow yourself to become so desensitized? And by the way, the desensitization metaphor is entirely appropriate in this case, because as far as I can tell, fidelity is designed to create one thing: immersion, a sense of really being in that world. But, as every stoner will tell you, there's another way to do that. I'm kidding, but only a little. One of the things that getting really fucking high should teach you is this. If you get into the right mind state, you can feel immersed in quite a bit. The truth is that whether you're high or not, suspending your disbelief is a choice. I mean, God, people act like, unless I can see the reflection on Nathan Drake's eyeball, I just can't get invested. Don't get me wrong, I really do love a lot of these games, like Uncharted or God of War, for example. They're gorgeous works of art, and I'm glad they exist, truly. But also, you know what? I like Subnautica more. Because when I'm descending into a black abyss and I'm so tense that my balls have retracted into my stomach, I don't give a fuck if the control panel on my submarine is giving off ray-traced reflections. I don't give a fuck. Suspension of disbelief, for fuck's sake, is a choice. You have to participate with it. As a developer, I'm not here to trick you. If you need to see the tiny hairs on the inside of the protagonist's nose to get invested, it's time to take off the gimp suit. You don't need it, alright? These games are a fucking $60 million hand job.
Nice.
Let me end with this. I know these videos are a bit sassy. I'm actually coming out of a rather humble phase in my life, but when I was young, I was a little belligerent. I was also very lucky, and my first job was working at Relic on Company of Heroes as a lowly environment prop artist. There, I had the great honor of working with many brilliant people, including Josh Mascara, who was the lead designer at the time, and who later went on to be the game director of Diablo 3, among other things. I'm sorry to say, I didn't quite appreciate the good fortune I had to be associated with such people, and one night, in a pub, while drunk, I approached Josh and asked him, respectfully, thank God, about a confusion and criticism I had with Company of Heroes. You see, after putting all this detail in the environment art, I noticed that while playing the game, you didn't actually perceive any of it because you were too busy thinking about highly abstract concepts, unit strength, movement, strategy, resources, etc. In some sense, your brain reduces the beautiful art completely into a set of two-dimensional symbols. It seemed to me that the art, with its detail, was actually something like an anti-signal. That is, it didn't help lead the player into the way of thinking that was conducive to gameplay. Josh knew exactly what I was talking about and interrupted me halfway through. Yeah, they don't match, he said. I was taken aback. Oh, why do it then, I asked. And I'll never forget what Josh told me. That's the market, man. You see, it doesn't fucking matter if the art doesn't match the gameplay, and it doesn't matter if AAA games are absurdly bloated as fuck, and if we're spending so much goddamn money that we have to recoup it by any means necessary. Because if that's what you want, then that's what we will do. You're tired of pre-ordering broken games? Stop doing it. Go buy Subnautica instead, or The Outer Wilds, or The Fall. That way, I get money, and I can integrate that new metahuman thing. All that detail. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you got a kick out of this. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you in the next one.